I support.
Senator Enoch.
Mr. Speaker, I thank you for this opportunity to also make a contribution to this motion. From the onset, let it go on record, Mr. Speaker, that I am in support of the senators that have been nominated to serve in the Senate Business Committee. A lot has been said about all these senators, and I don't need to repeat, Mr. Speaker. I'm in total agreement that the persons named to serve in this committee are fit for purpose, and they will be able to execute the mandate of the committee in the best interest of this House and this country. Mr. Speaker, in support of this motion, I also wish to say two things that are important, two or three things. One, Mr. Speaker, I want to thank you for the way we have started this first day of this session. You have said that it's a painful thing to ask a member of account of disorderly conduct. But, Mr. Speaker, it is a good thing because it also sets us on the right footing as we transact business, real business, in this session. I've used him out. So, Mr. Speaker, it's a good thing. Do more of these things. Even if Senator Wambua misbehaves, ask him out. Next time, I think they will behave well. Mr. Speaker, there is a second thing that I wanted to say, that at the beginning of this motion, when Senator Cheriot was moving this motion, Speaker, a wrong impression was created on my part. That when Senator Cheriot, the majority leader, stood to move the motion, it is my understanding of the standing orders, and I can be corrected because we are all learning every day, that when a senator is moving a motion, it is not right to stand on a point of order to raise an issue on the substantive motion because the motion is still being moved. You can raise on a standing order or a point of order to challenge something else outside what the mover is doing. So when I said that was premature, making reference to what my senior Senator Dula was doing, what I meant is it's premature to raise a point of order when a motion is being moved. I did not mean to refer to her as being premature. Mr. Speaker, you know me, these senators know me. I am not capable of saying such things about other senators. So that impression should be corrected. Lastly, Mr. Speaker, I have heard senators stand here in support of this motion, but also questioning the names and the representation of political parties. Mr. Speaker, for the avoidance of doubt, first of all, Jubilee as a party is represented in this Senate Business Committee by the whip. For the avoidance of doubt. Yes, we have changed a name belonging to Jubilee, but Mr. Speaker, one thing I want to congratulate and thank you for is that, Mr. Speaker, you will not allow yourself to be invited to preside over political party issues on the floor of this House. Your business here, Mr. Speaker, will be to moderate debate, call us out of order when you're out of order, and make sure that we make progress. Political parties and coalition of political parties will have to transact their business outside the floor, and least of all, they should never expect that the Speaker will preside over that business. The Speaker, the Jubilee Party, and I'm not here to discuss political parties. has made an expression of interest, and it is their democratic right to join the ruling coalition. They have a right to do that. And they are saying they are not formally out. They have just expressed interest. So maybe they may change their minds, maybe they will not, maybe they will go the full course. But, Mr. Speaker, for us in the Azimio coalition, we have also expressed an interest to disengage with people that are not loyal to our cause. So, Mr. Speaker, if Jubilee has decided to express an interest to work with the party that has sponsored Senator Khalwale to the Senate, it should be okay for the Azimio One Kenya coalition to express an interest to disengage with the irritants. When that happens, as Speaker, it should not come to the floor of this House. We called a meeting, the Speaker, as leadership, to decide on the names that will serve in the Senate Business Committee and brief them properly. Because this time round, it's not going to be business as usual. We needed to brief our members properly. The Jubilee members belonging to the Azimio coalition for now did not turn up. The Speaker, it is not in our business to force people to belong where they don't belong. And when we remove them from committees, Mr. Speaker, I want to put it on record that the fourth schedule, Standing Order 238-3, Senator Boni Khalwale, there are 14 standing committees. In the scheme of things, Mr. Speaker, Jubilee members have been assigned committees by the Azimio One Kenya coalition. Going forward, we shall rethink that position, and where they are going, they can be assigned committees and serve there if that's what they want. Mr. Speaker, with those many remarks, I support.
Senator Boni.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I rise to support this motion. As others have said, it's an important motion, and ordinarily, once this motion is moved by the majority and gets the backing from the leadership of the minority, it quickly becomes a point of convergence and calls upon us to remain brief so that we can discharge the business. However, because of what has transpired this afternoon, I wish to make a few comments. The first one, Mr. Speaker, is that yes, on our side, the majority, we have not changed the names. We had reason to do so. And on the side of the minority, changes have been made. I am confident that the leadership of the minority did the necessary consultations to arrive at these changes. And if such a consultations were not done, that should not be expected to be solved on the floor of the House. And even if one wanted to achieve the same, it is not possible because the motion that is being moved is the motion as it is with the names as stated. Mr. Speaker, Senator Wambua is very loud and clear about his expectations on his side. Allow me, Mr. Speaker, to assure members of Jubilee, should it come to pass that you will leave the minority side and come to the majority side, I'm ready and willing to assign you responsibilities in various committees. You will be warmly received. You will enjoy the same privileges, if not better, than you are enjoying on the other side. Mr. Speaker, I also want to thank the minority side. The minority side in the last session, they have taken issues blow by blow. They have supported the things they were convinced they needed to support and opposed when they had to. If we carry this maturity to the current session, Mr. Speaker, I'm confident that we will help the House Business Committee to discharge more business for us for the interest of the public. Mr. Speaker, 3 points. The first one is that we must get business going because, Mr. Speaker, we have inherited a country that is faced by serious problems. As government, we have inherited a country that is facing severe insecurity in the Rift and in the north of the country. We need to fix it, and it's only this Parliament that can give the necessary infrastructure. We have inherited a country that has a total economic mess. It requires a lot of fixing. The President has proposed even budgetary cut-downs so that we can see how best to get the economy going. The President is very loud, and correctly so, that all Kenyans must pay taxes. Mr. Speaker, I remember with nostalgia President Mwai Kibaki. He was also very clear and firm that companies, people, small and large, should pay taxes. We did so, and we turned the economy. It's just a matter of time. If companies are going to pay taxes, we will turn our economy for the interest of the minority and the interest of the majority. And that's where we want to take our country. Mr. Speaker, we have inherited a country that the government has left the education sector in total chaos. Mr. Speaker, they have even introduced a program called the CBC. I make it a point to do spot checks all the time in my county. And when I talk to the teachers about CPC, Mr. Speaker, the teachers tell me they don't know this thing. When I talk to the parents, Mr. Speaker, the parents are telling me we cannot afford. Mr. Speaker, when I talk to the students and the pupils are saying, especially the primary school children are saying, Mr. Speaker, that we don't know. I don't know whether I was number 1, number 2, number 7, or number last. Where was I? So I asked them, what is the problem? He says, me, I used to beat Maria. Now I don't know whether Maria did better than me or so on. So this confusion requires time. And I want to encourage the special committee that His Excellency put in place, led by Professor Munavu, my lecturer of the University of Nairobi, to be firm and realistic and make recommendations that will deliver our children to the dreams of their lives, and not decisions that are going to help some business people who thought they could make a quick kill through the education sector to make an extra bag. Mr. Speaker, as we go into this committee to bring here business, I want to draw it to the members of this House that if we are not going to be very serious, somebody is starting to think that Senate is not up to it. Mr. Speaker, one of the cardinal bills this House is supposed to deliver is the Division of Revenue Bill that decides how much money will remain with the national government vis-a-vis the devolved structure. Mr. Speaker, it should not surprise any senator who has refused to follow current affairs that somebody is starting to think that we are not doing it. If the governors were confident that we can do this job of division of revenue, why would they be disturbing the deputy president in meetings of IBEC, asking the deputy president that they be given more money? Why would they go further and also disturb the president when they know that the division of revenue is our responsibility? The National Treasury is saying it can only give 480 billion. The Commission of Revenue Authority, which is our technical arm, not the technical arm of the executive under this constitution, is saying you should accept 407. And the national government through Treasury is saying, the National Treasury is saying 380. The Commission of Revenue allocation is saying 407, and the governors want 425. This conversation should not be taking place at State House or at retreats chaired by the President. Those conversations are supposed to take place in the Senate through the Committee of Budget and Finance, so that the National Treasury can come and state its case, CRA the same, the Council of Governors the same, and then our committee will inform this House and we shall decide how much money we shall allocate to the division of. So we are allowing ourselves to look like we are irrelevant. We are looking like we are not up to it. I look at some of the governors. I respect them. Some of them are my younger brothers. But they have no idea how revenue is divided between the two levels of government. They are walking in corridors, going to see the chief minister, going to see the minister of finance, going to see the deputy president, hoping that they will get an access to the president. That is not the way. Let them talk to us. That is our job. They cannot take away our job and they go in funny meetings, in funerals, and saying how it is them who get money to go to counties, since when and how. Mr. Speaker, I want to conclude by speaking to the last point. The last point is what has transpired this afternoon. Mr. Speaker, I beg you, you're my younger brother, and I've worked with you for many years. Do not allow this Senate to be defined by the immaturity and excitement of just a few potatoes. Mr. Speaker, I saw you pained on how you would speak to the issue of menstruation that was being canvassed on the floor of the House. It should never happen again. We know that our girls are suffering because of the challenges of poverty due to menstruation. But at the same time, Mr. Speaker, we also have Kenyans who are suffering because they don't have toilets. So are you going to expect a male senator to come here having defecated on himself, walking on stool, to show that people don't have toilets at home? Would you tolerate him? You cannot. And let me tell some of these young senators, we will not allow you. We are not going to be demeaned collectively. We'll call you out. Mr. Speaker, I recall, and that time you were with me in the National Assembly. A young member of parliament came very excited to the House one afternoon. You were there, I was there. In tatters. He came with rags of clothes looking like a chokora. The sergeant at arms tried to throw him out. The guy struggled. He was playing to the gallery in the streets here that they will say, we have elected an MP who goes to the House in rags like us and therefore is representing us. He did it. He was thrown out the way you have thrown out Senator Gloria. And that member of parliament, whose name I wouldn't wish to mention here, has tried to win an election in Nairobi. He has even changed constituencies. The voters who he thought he was representing and impressing have said no. If Gloria wants to begin a career in politics, she will have to do it differently. And I appeal this to all of us. I look at a mama, Senator Mama, like Kavindu, what must have been going through her mind when she saw her own daughter doing what she was doing. We shouldn't allow that collective embarrassment to colleagues. Mr. Speaker, I am glad that in the National Assembly, you have a strong legal mind. And in this House, you are equally a strong legal minds. Let these two houses converge so that where the National Assembly is right, we support. We don't fight them simply because we want to be seen to be the upper house. A lower house can have an upper idea. And an upper house can have an inferior idea. The reason will not be because the house is called lower and the other one is called upper. It is because if the members of parliament in the upper house have inferior ideas, the inferior ideas will define the upper house, and there's no way it will outshine the lower house. If the intention is to picket, there is room for picketing. If she had asked me, Mr. Speaker, I would have helped her how to picket on the same thing. I got her in the corridors. I'm a doctor of medicine. I pulled her to Senator Dulo's office that please change. She told me, no, I'm going to show them. If she wanted to picket, Mr. Speaker, she would have bought a ribbon, very well designed, and the ribbon she would have won. I would have won one ribbon for her. Several of us would have won to send a message to our children that we care. The ribbon would have been written on, support the poor children who have challenges during menstruation. People must behave with decorum. If they are not prepared, let them resign and go away. And I can assure the Secretary General of UDA, as your chief whip, oh, she's around, thank you, madam. As your chief whip, I will insist that you direct me and I help you, I direct you, you help the president, you help the deputy president to cease this embarrassment so that people we nominated must know that we sweated for those positions that afforded them a chance to be nominated. I support.
Senator Dulo.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, from onset, I reject this list. Number one, we have been elected to represent people of Kenya in this house. We have a democratic right to belong wherever we want to belong. Number three, this is a house that is guided by the rule of law and procedures. And as I've said earlier, there is no formal communication on the floor of the House to effect changes to the list that was there 1 week ago to House Business Committee. Mr. Speaker, it's not your position to discuss matters of political parties here. But I think as the head of this institution, you have a right to give guidance as far as political parties are concerned and guided by the rule of law. And I know, Mr. Speaker, when we made our way to State House, it's not by mistake. Yeah? We knew what we were doing. We know the consequences. But the law must be followed to the letter. This is my 4th month having been elected to the opposition side. And this is my 3rd term to serve in this house. I have even served in the House Business Committee before. The list that has been presented to this house this afternoon was doctored this afternoon without proper consultation. Mr. Speaker, as a person and as a leader, I am really tired of the forced marriage. I am tired of intimidation. I am tired of abuse by certain quarters of this side. And I'm not fearing anybody, Mr. Speaker. But what we really want is the law to be followed to the letter. We were in Azimio. We've been actually debated on this floor of the House that Jubilee contributed nothing to Azimio. Shame on you, those who are saying that. As Isiolo County, and I've kept quiet on this for a very long time, Isiolo County has a governor, a senator, women rep, all the members of parliament are from Jubilee Party. And we contributed to Azimio. Yeah? Since I was given actually the leadership position, there is abuse, there is intimidation, this is our seat we should take. You can take for all I care. Yeah? But take it. We have taken. You can take. But the law must be followed. And we will fight as Jubilee that our rightful share in this house must be given to us. Mr. Speaker, I know even the PSC position that was taken away from us as Jubilee, and we are the third largest political party in this house. It was actually wrong, it was falsehood, it was intimidation, it was harassment, and that is how that position was taken away from us. And unfortunately, that day I was not here. But I'm saying, enough is enough. What happened actually to Jubilee has never happened for the last how many years? We are ready to walk that path. But me personally, as Fatuma Dulo, elected by Isiolo people, for the third term I'm serving in this house, I will not allow intimidation, I will not allow abuse, I will not allow harassment, I will not allow, name calling, Mr. Speaker. And I'm requesting you as the head of this institution, we have a right as Jubilee. We must be given our rightful share as Jubilee members in this house. We must get a ruling where Jubilee should sit, where Jubilee should be actually positioned. Because Professor Kamar is a very senior member of this house. In the last Senate, she was a deputy speaker. For her to be nominated, it doesn't mean she's a lesser member of this house. There was a reason why she didn't go for elective position. But today, it's embarrassing because Senator Kamar went to State House. That's the reason why she's removed from house business. It's wrong to have a double speak. When the president went to Luo Nyanza, the people who are dancing and celebrating and calling all the praises to none other than William Samoei Ruto are ODM members. And they have taken goodies from this government. We are being told, oh, that was the visit to Luo Nyanza. Which visit is better than the other? If they are going to discipline those who went to State House, they should start with the governors of Luo Nyanza. Mr. Speaker, I'm winding up. There's no need of point of order, Senator Osotsi. Those who are dying for the whip position, you can prepare yourself and take that position. Even the committee members. But I am appealing to you, as an elected member of this house, and having served my third term in this house, I would expect you, Mr. Speaker, sir, to give a ruling that Jubilee should be recognized in this house as a political party that has the third largest number in this house. Having said that, we don't regret to have walked to State House. We will walk even right now if we want. But thank you very much. We have democracy. We are elected by people. Sometimes we have to look at the people who elected us, not the matters of political parties. We have experienced where nominated walked out of political parties in the last Senate. Nothing happened to them. They served their full term. I can walk out of this house to be just a member who is representing Isiolo County, and I'm so proud of that. I am elected as a second term member of the Senate, having contested with more than 7 men in my county. I'm so proud. So thank you very much. I oppose this list. It's not properly represented. You can take even that weak position, I don't care. But the rule of law must be applied. You are a legal mind in this house, and that should be done properly. I thank you.
What is your point of order?
Mr. Speaker, I hope you have listened to the damning revelations by the Minority Whip, Senator Fatuma Dulo. The clarification I am seeking, not a point of order, Mr. Speaker, is that Senator Dulo has stated that in his own record and answered that the list that we are discussing was doctored. For neatness and integrity of the House processes, Mr. Speaker, can you give guidance on how we should proceed if it is true, as Senator Dulo has alleged, because of his political affiliation or working with the president and going to the State House, which anyway, State House is a public office, Mr. Speaker. What should we do in such situation where a member who sits in a very leadership position comes and reveals those statements, Mr. Speaker, as ordinary members of the House, we take it seriously. Just the way if Senate Minority Leader today or Senate Majority Whip would make such statement, Mr. Speaker, and say the list was doctored. And therefore, for neatness of the process, Mr. Speaker, I request that you give us proper direction so that when we put SBC in office, we should have absolute faith. And I want to urge my colleagues that want to bring politics of rallies, they should allow Senator Dulo be. This is not the first time we were intimidated in Jubilee when Uhuru Kenyatta and others were there. Now Senator Dulo is working with the president, and State House is where everybody can go, Mr. Speaker. So, Mr. Speaker, if people want to work with President William Ruto, they can work. And Mr. Speaker, surprisingly, Azimio One Kenya Alliance leader, Raila Odinga and Kalonzo Musyoka have told governors to work with the government of the day and William Ruto. What is wrong for Senate Minority Whip, Mr. Speaker? Senator Dulo working with President William Ruto, Mr. Speaker. What is wrong? What is so special that she's being frustrated, Mr. Speaker? And I want to tell Senator Dulo, don't be intimidated. It looks like Azimio One Kenya lands are looking down upon women leadership, and we shall not allow it to happen.
Senators, if a senator is on a point of order, you don't have to shout on a point of order because I won't yield. The standing orders are very clear. So, and that's why I'm insisting, why don't we read our standing orders so that we can have a neat engagement in the Senate. Now, allow me to address myself to the matter raised by the Honorable Senator Fatuma Dulo. Honorable Senators, allow me to invite you to Standing Order 190, where the Senate Business Committee is constituted. Now, the Senate Business Committee comprises of the Speaker, the Majority Leader, the Minority Leader, the Majority Whip, the Minority Whip, and 7 other members. Now, the 7 other members, it says who shall be nominated by the parliamentary parties. And therefore, it's assumed that when the list comes to the Senate, the political parties have sat and nominated. What is left to the Senate is merely to approve or to reject the whole committee. Now, Honorable Senator Dulo, I'm not aware of any dispute between you within Azimio. If indeed there is a dispute, kindly bring it forward. And at that point, I'll be able to make a ruling. As it is now, I'm not seized of any dispute. I've not received any letter to the contrary. So kindly be guided that if you feel aggrieved and indeed there's a dispute between Jubilee and the other constituent parties of Azimio, do write the relevant correspondence to me, and for sure I'll be able to make a ruling in that regard. But as it is now, it is assumed in the absence of any registered dispute that indeed the list that has been tabled before, coming from the minority and coming from the majority, must have gone through the processes of nomination. So then the Senate cannot be dragged unless moved by a dispute within your coalition. Let's proceed that one. Senator Eddy.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise to support this motion because, as we all know and as has been stated by everyone here, this is the most important committee for this House. The running of this House, as is the running of other committees, select committees of this House, are definitely determined by this particular committee. Above that, I want to register that the second session that we are going to have, given how we have started this session, will be critical to have some more ambitious, more ideological, more organized, and more dispassionate engagement. I say this because I've listened to our elders speak. I listened to Elder Aluale, who, with a lot of respect, was tempted to make what I would call an ageist comment. An ageist comment because if you think about the behavior of some members of this House who happen to be young, and they have behaved in an inappropriate way or an inappropriate manner, in both sides of the House, Mr. Speaker, I see wonderful senators who are equally young. I've had the opportunity to work with Senator Thangwa from the other side of the House, who is an amazing individual and a very well-leveled elder leader, and he's young. I've had the opportunity to work with Senator Tabitha, who is equally extremely talented, very passionate, very organized, and above all, committed to the function of this House. And she's young. I've worked in this other side with Senator Sifuna, who, by all means possible, is qualified even to be in that list and has always been very keen and pays attention to details, and he is equally young. I've worked with Senator Ezena, who is also very passionate about issues of the North, has advanced a lot of courses in the course of conducting businesses that regards the people who are marginalized in the North, and she is young. So I would want to urge us, as we start the businesses of this House, to not be lured into these ageist comments. It will be critical that this particular committee finds ways of weaving conversations that can make us a House that sees women, youth, any racial, all tribal communities as being able to contribute to this House. Mr. Speaker, I've also listened to the comments that have been made by a few members who are discontented with the agenda, that the changes that we have had might have targeted some people, especially from the majority side, or minority side. My heart bleeds, Mr. Speaker, when I listen to those comments, because the sanctity of this House is measured by how well we are alive to Article 27 of the Constitution. Article 27 of the Constitution invites this House to be able to ensure that in every dealing that we are having, we must ensure equality and we must ensure freedoms of all Kenyans. We are not here in those committees just to serve our parties. Our parties are mere vehicles that we used to get to this house. But the essence part of why we are in this house is because we have been employed by our bosses, who are the people of Kenya. If you read Article 27 of the Constitution, sub-Article 4, it clearly states that we shall not have a state that both directly and indirectly discriminates upon the people of Kenya. And where discrimination can be able to happen very easily in this kind of house is in writing the businesses of this house. You can be tempted to directly or indirectly discriminate against the people of Kenya by the agenda you bring in this house. And it has been said, Mr. Speaker, that the both sides of the house, both majority and minority, represent certain aspirations of our people in different ways. It cannot be that some members of minority, who, for whichever reasons that best fits them, have chosen to cross to the other side of the house, whether directly or indirectly, and then seek to still sit in the business committee. Mr. Speaker, we will be indirectly having more voices and having more agenda of the majority side represented in the business committee. Furthermore, Mr. Speaker, I want to advise, maybe some people might say that we are young. We have also taken time in this house to go through the answer of this house that do show a number of events that have gone on through this country and how the house businesses of this country in different parliaments have run. Mr. Speaker, there used to be a time in this country that as simple things as the budget writing process of this country used to be dictated by the State House. And my elder, Honorable Alwale, who is also the majority whip, will tell you that it used to happen that the technical teams in the Treasury will devise a budget, write it, without even these houses ever having to have the input in those houses. In fact, my sister who has just stepped out, Senator Dulo, knows very well that one of the reasons why Isiolo County ranks as a marginalized community in this country is because the State House, under the executive orders that forms the section paper number 65, number 10 of 1965, came from State House, and State House indeed forced some counties in this country to be considered as non-performing counties without any input in our economy, to the extent that today Article 204 of our Constitution is all dedicated to deal with issues of marginalization. It is extremely important, Mr. Speaker, that as we start the business of this House, both members of both sides do understand that the independence of Parliament, and more so the independence of the Senate, that some of us are agitating for, is extremely critical for the advancement of your own people, just as is for the people that you perceive are from the opposition side. And as I finish, Mr. Speaker, in the same manner that I want to advocate for the independence of these houses from the executive, the idea that development comes from State House, the notion that has been propagated in the last 1 week in the media by members joining different parts of the coalitions. I also want to say that the Constitution of Kenya is very clear about the arms of government. And these arms of government have got an absolute demonstration of what we call their seat of power. For the executive, the biggest symbol of the executive is the presidency. And in the presidency, Mr. Speaker, one of the symbols that makes us admire the presidency as a people of Kenya, admire the presidency as a symbol of national unity, admire the presidency as that place with ultimate authority to be able to unite as a nation, is the State House. If today Kenyans go to demonstrate or to picket in State House, I don't know what the majority side will call that. We will say the authority of the State House is gone. It will be anarchy. It will be the symbol of that authority that we call the judiciary is indeed our courts. If today we could allow our citizens to go and picket or to go and demonstrate inside any of our courts, then the authorities of the courts cease to exist. And lastly, Mr. Speaker, these houses of parliament, that is the National Assembly as well as the Senate, the symbol of the seat of power of these houses, the authority of these arms of government lie within this particular house. It is very unfortunate that we can even laugh about or even administer a small punishment as just having a senator sent out of the house for coming to picket within this house, for coming to demonstrate, because that was called demonstration. It's nothing less than demonstration within this house. Mr. Speaker, in my own understanding, that is equal to somebody taking this mess out of this house and taking out the authority of this house. I want to urge you, Mr. Speaker, that help us, and as well as the business committee that we're putting together, help this house to be able to remain an authority that is enshrined within the Constitution by not having this house being reduced to some businesses that are indeed enshrined in the Constitution but have got boundaries within where they must happen. Otherwise, Mr. Speaker, I want to say that as members of parliament, as the majority leader had insinuated before, we had our time to go for holidays, we had our time to relax, we had our time to have Christmas, to celebrate New Year. Some Kenyans, Mr. Speaker, did not have even the opportunity of having Christmas. Some Kenyans did not even have opportunity of celebrating New Year's. Not because they did not want to, but they did not have the means and the privileges that we do have in this house to celebrate those that we celebrated. Therefore, we must get back to business and make this house possible to avail equal opportunities for Kenyans to thrive than just surviving. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, as I support this motion.
Thank you, Senator Chirange. What is your intervention?
Mr. Speaker, looking at the mood of the House, and this Senate Business Committee is very critical, and I presume as per the tradition, you might need to meet because tomorrow the business of the House has to be given out. Mr. Speaker, it's in order to request that we can go for voting by the standing order so that we can proceed, Mr. Speaker. Thank you.
Unfortunately, Senator Chirange, having contributed to the motion, you are not the right person to move that point of order. Maybe another senator would move such a point of order. Wafula Wakoli.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Speaker. I just want to reiterate what my senior brother said due to time constraints. Allow me to say a word that this country is in turmoil. This country needs a lot of panel beating and issues being raised about consultation, about partisan positions in the House. I want to request, Mr. Speaker, that we have one thing called Senate Business Committee, not Azimio Business Committee. And I want to request that for the reason that we elected, we stick to this agenda of Senate Business Committee. So I want us to proceed and vote and allow this committee to continue with its work. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Senator Wakoli, you cannot rise to contribute and then shut other members. So we'll consider you as having contributed, and therefore you cannot be the one to move that point of order. Senator Nduati, what is your point of order?
Mr. Speaker, sir, I rise first of all to support this motion and to seek that the mover of this motion be called to respond so that if we have to move into voting, we can proceed on with the voting towards this motion.
Honorable Senators, allow me to put the question that let's dispense with that point of order. Let us be guided by our standing orders. A point of order has been put across. Let's dispense with it. The point of order is that the mood of the House dictates that the mover be called to reply. So let's dispense with that. And that's why I'm going to put the question to the honorable senators, that having... Can I hear you correctly, Senator Veronica, please?
That the mover of the motion to be called to respond to the motion.
Senators, can you walk in, please? Honorable Senators, the Senator Veronica Maina has, on a point of order, has reason to seek that we allow the mover to reply. And I'm going to put the question. Having read the mood of the House, I do now call upon the mover of the motion to reply. As many as of that opinion say aye. Aye. As many as of that contrary opinion say nay. The ayes have it. Majority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I want to appreciate members who have taken time to contribute. This is not a matter to be agitated to, especially my good friend Senator Faki, who has had opportunity to speak on very many important things in this House. Surely, if on one afternoon we ask that he forgoes a chance to contribute so that we can formulate SBC and dictate and generate business for the House to consider, I don't think it's too much of a ask for a senior colleague. I'd have understood if maybe somebody else who, for one reason or the other, said this is our chance to speak. Otherwise, Mr. Speaker, I appreciate the contribution of our colleagues. I know we didn't have a very good start to the session, but like they say, all is well that ends well. I think we've had a good ending, and members have spoken to this matter so that SPC can quickly convene, set the agenda. Let's do that which Kenyans elected us to do, which is to represent them, to legislate, and to oversight. That ought to be our focus, Mr. Speaker. With those very main remarks, I beg to move.
Honorable Senators, pursuant to Standing Order 84-2, I do make a determination that indeed this matter does not affect counties, and therefore voting shall be by voice. And I proceed to put the question. The pursuant to Standing Orders 190 and 199.3, The Senate approved the following senators nominated to serve in the Senate Business Committee, in addition to the Speaker of the Senate, who, pursuant to Standing Order 191, shall be the chairperson of the committee: the Senate Majority Leader, the Senate Minority Leader, the Senate Majority Whip, and the Senate Minority Whip. 1, Senator Ali Ibrahim Roba, EGH, MP, as a member. 2, Senator Veronica Maina, MP, as a member. 3, Senator Wakili Hilary Kiprotich Sigei, MP, as a member. 4, Senator Maureen Tabitha Mutinda, MP, as a member. 5, Senator Agnes Kavindu Muthama, MP, as a member. 6, Senator Munyehaji Muhammad Faki, MP, as a member. And lastly, Senator Edwin Watenya Sifuna, MP, as a member. Will as many as of that opinion say aye? Aye. Will as many as of the contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it. Honorable Senators, the members whose names have just been approved to sit in SBC, we shall proceed upon the rise of the House to room committee number 4. Immediately, the House rises. Honorable Senators, there being no other business on the order paper, the Senate stands adjourned until tomorrow, Wednesday, 15th of February, 2023 at 2:30 p.m. Thank you.